Welcome back. Well, it is from there we pick it up from today, and we're joined by Mr. Wahab Shitu, who is the coordinator, Center for Human Rights in Faculty of Law, University of Lagos. He's also a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on this morning.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I haven't seen this accord that they've signed. What difference do you think this will make this time?
I think it's a positive development. We know that political leaders, through their pronouncements, through their actions, influence the attitude of their supporters a great deal, because they see their supporters look forward to them. So with this accord coming as a preemptive measure, I mean, it's salutary, because we cannot afford violence. Already the political atmosphere is charged already. We have crisis in the land. We have conflict in the land. We have a war situation in the land, fueled by terrorism. We cannot afford to compound that with political violence. And we know that, so this is, we are in an unusual times. The authority of the state to maintain law and order has not been challenged in any other time more than now. So I think what Nigerians deserve is a free, fair, credible election, devoid of political violence, devoid of arson, devoid of assassinations, devoid of thuggery. Politics really is about service delivery quality. If you want to serve the people, must you be violent?
Well, how do you see this message getting to their supporters? Something, look, it may not get to them immediately. Some of them would have done something before even hear about the message. And even if they hear the message, look, their supporters also have vested interest. And so something, look, they're not exactly sure if it will have the kind of impact it will, while others think, of course it will.
Well, this is the essence of what China is doing presently, sensitizing the populace. It will to get to the supporters through the vehicle of political education. Essentially, what is lacking, why we have these incidents of political violence, is because of the lack of sufficient political education, not just by the followers, but by the leaders themselves. Because if you throw yourself up to aspire for any political office, you must behave like a Democrat. And what does being a Democrat entails? It entails civility, decorum, decency, and democratic culture. You know, and there's no way you can practice democracy if you are not prepared to be a Democrat. These are attributes of democracy.
I think sorry to cut you there, I think what I'm getting from you is that the players themselves should be enmeshed in this education of the electorate.
Yes.
And you say that can actually sink better than when anyone
You can't give what you do not have. I think the political elite, encourage wittingly or unwittingly this political violence through their pronouncements, through their conduct. Some of them see politics as do or die. That orientation must change. Politics is about service. If I offer myself to serve you, and you say no, then why should I resort to violence?
Some people will say that the stakes seem to be higher this time around. It would seem that this is the first time that we're getting, the candidates to sign such a peace accord, and it is between the two major candidates. There are other presidential candidates, but it's not really being covered that they also signed this peace accord as well. How important is it that this accord be signed?
Well, it is important because those who are involved in initiating this accord are players in the local and international scene. You understand me? Secondly, the fact that these leaders openly come and demonstrate their commitment to the peace process, gives a positive signal to their followers. Because you can see the pictures, and I'm sure it will go viral. Everybody will see it. and they will keep into it. I mean, they will follow it and then implement it. But again, this is one aspect of it. You know that this political violence is not concerned about the attitude of leaders alone. How do they control their overzealous supporters?
But you know, last time out, INEC also said that, look, they called politicians to meetings, they signed some sort of understanding, but eventually we saw how people reacted to the results of the elections across different areas. So,
well, sometimes this reaction is instantaneous. If you don't want political violence to occur, then you must deliver on credible, free, fair election. People, you can take a lot of things for granted, not the destiny of the people. You understand what I'm saying? The period of election provides a unique opportunity for the people to elect representatives of their choice. Now, if you score through that process, through rigging, or through some form of any kind of untoward behavior, the people will react. So I think the effective safeguard against political violence is free, fair, credible, and transparent electoral process.
Can that reaction, as spontaneous as it may be described or construed as the waning or dwindling trust that the people have for, say, the judiciary?
Well, again, that is partly responsible. That is partly responsible because the judiciary is supposed to deliver impartial what? Adjudication. Timelessly. But most of the time, the process is unnecessarily protracted. There's a lot of delays. The judiciary has its own challenges. But you can see, in an ideal situation, the judiciary ought not to play a role if the election is free, fair, credible, and transparent. You will not see the possibility of the judiciary intervening. So when the judiciary intervenes in the electoral process, it is an anomaly. Well, it's not supposed to be the norm. It's supposed to be the exception to the rule. So I think we should conduct our elections transparently in a manner that will make the intervention of the judiciary unnecessary.
Well, the stakes, again, I have to go back to those presidential elections and the fact that it's only the presidential candidates we're seeing here. But from what we see, or from what a lot of people would also, attest to, it would seem that the battle will also be tough at the level of the states, considering the shake-ups that have happened there during the primaries of the different parties. Do you think that we should also get some state governments or the parties at the local level to also be signing this peace accord?
I agree with you. Unfortunately, to be able to replicate such kind of, undertaking at state level may be difficult because most of the state governors hold partisan views. So I think it will be important for credible, non-partisan individuals to also take the battle to the state level. For instance, when you see elements like Kofi Annan there and Ayoko, these are respected international statesmen whose views are taken seriously, locally and internationally. You saw Gambari there. These are people, these are statesmen, these are nation builders. And we still have such elements across the states. They should also key into this peace process.
I like the way you just qualified them, international statesmen.
Yes.
Though, because this fits properly for these individuals. And you say we also have some of them in our communities, in our localities, and they also should be talking about these elections. If you look at it critically, talking about the continent, Ghana, for instance, we have seen how elections have improved tremendously in Ghana. to the extent that when you talk about the judiciary, you say, well, it is only when we have a flawed process that is when we get into the judiciary aspect of it, which is true. We haven't actually seen that in Ghana because acceptability of the process or the results is another thing. Hashtag Ekiti State. And of course, looking at what happened in Ghana. If anyone loses, whoever the person is, and you had a transparent process, if you accept defeat immediately, publicly, can that as well help or stem any perceived violence that should have erupted from your followers?
It will assist positively. You are talking of the Olympian spirit. That is what our sportsmen ought to, our politicians ought to imbibe. Somebody must win. Somebody must lose. Our political elite, the political class must appreciate this. And it is for the winners to be magnanimous in victory, while the losers should accept defeat in good faith. If the process is transparent, if the process is credible, if the process is free,
you're putting a very big
if the process is fair.
You're bringing exactly.
What would mean transparency, credibility for you?
Now, what would mean transparency and credibility for me is a situation where we do not have elements of rigging. When people are not disenfranchised from exercising, election is about freedom of choice, devoid of intimidation, devoid of threat, devoid of coercion, devoid of militarization, unnecessary militarization of the polity. Because it's not just the conduct of the election that is critical. The process leading to the conduct of election is also critical. But I think what is important is for us to appeal to the populace, not to take the laws into their hands. If you feel the process is not transparent, there is a mechanism provided for by law for you to redress your grievances. I will be the last person to support any form of violence without resort to the rule of law. Because when you talk of democracy, there are certain fundamentals associated with democracy. Respect for constitutionalism is key. Respect for the rule of law is key. Respect for due process is key. Transparency and accountability is key. And then you must also recognize the independence of the judiciary and the right of the judiciary to adjudicate when they are disposed.